If it's too easy, it's no more fun. We need some, challenges, and that's actually the answer also to the next why question, which is, why can't we make this place then more agreeable, avoiding all the suffering and disease and war and fights between people and unhappiness, depression, Prozac, and so on. Why do we need all that? Yeah. But again, we can't do without. If we want to play this game, we got to take the suffering, because that's just the other side of pleasure. If we want to have the pleasure, we got to take some suffering, because the pleasure and the suffering are experienced in the same way. Like my tongue can taste great chocolate ice cream, and the same tongue, also can taste something tasting awful. Like my eyes, they can see a beautiful painting only if they can also see a really ugly thing. And if even to value a really good chocolate ice cream, I have to be able to experience something which is maybe a little less good, nice, and then a little less nice even, and then really something you'd eat just because you're hungry, and then something which you wouldn't even eat if you're hungry. So you got to have all this variety. It's like a scale. Yeah? You can't say, well, I'll cut off that part of the scale because I don't like that. No, you can't. You need to have the whole scale. You need to have the suffering. You can't, like, there's enjoyment in some point to learn how to be a good person. And how can that be if you don't have the choice to be a bad person? It wouldn't be any fun if God would just say, okay, from now on everybody is good. I decided, magically it is done. Then this world would become, like a world of robots. We'd all be, so pre-programmed to be good. It wouldn't be much fun. It wouldn't have any value at all. Like if you have a much liking for the color white, and you want everything to be white, then there's nothing more to see, because if everything is really white without any shades or anything, then it's like a big flash of white light, you don't see anything. So you gotta have white and a little less white, at least to see something, and then that will create shapes which are maybe more, maybe less beautiful, and there you go, there it starts. So the whole suffering part is just, needed if you want the fun part. So, it's a difficult subject, I understand. From this whole story I'm telling today, this is the most difficult for people to digest. No? But it's still the truth. Like, let's take something awful. No? A woman loses her child. It's a very terrible thing. But the truth about that is that if we want to have the beauty of having children, we also need to accept that they can be lost. And for this woman, this one woman who lost a child, this is of course a heavy burden, but she is really bearing that burden for all the other moms and dads who are enjoying their children, because that could not be if there wouldn't be some moms and fathers who lose their child. That's the truth. I said I wasn't going to adapt the truth today too much to what people can understand or accept. Yes, so this is it. This is just the truth. All this suffering happens because of the pleasure that also happens. So try to enjoy the pleasure and ignore the suffering. And then suffering also, is very, very relative. Because from suffering you learn. If nobody here would have any problem, no suffering, then nobody here would be here in this yoga class to learn about life and how to have a better life. So it's like a rose bush. If you don't cut it regularly, it will grow so wild and without good structure that it will die quite fast. But by cutting it, by giving it a little more challenge, it will become strong. So our suffering makes us strong. That's not the reason for it. God is not sending us suffering to make us strong or to make us more spiritual, because that's of course also what suffering does. It makes us turn away from that which disappears, from that which is only an illusion, because it appears and then we get attached to it and then it again disappears. So suffering makes us more detached, and in that way suffering is very spiritual and can bring you to a very different level of understanding and living, and a very different level of happiness. So in that way suffering is not as bad as it looks. And pleasure in the same way, pleasure makes people lazy. I mean, it's fantastic, I'm not even against it, but too much of it makes you lazy, makes you dull, stops you from trying to learn, and you get too much of it, you end up being nobody. Many kids from rich parents can attest to that, if at least those parents were at least giving them the things they also need and which money can buy. It's like when kids play a game, hide and seek. The seeking is not so much fun. I mean, it's fun, of course, but if it's difficult, then children can be a little, I'm not finding it, and then finding, I found you, and so on. But they accept that there's a part in it that is maybe not so nice. It's like, if you play a soccer game also, it's not so nice, It's a lot of effort, a lot of sweating, maybe also some pain, you fall down, whatever, and still they want to play it because, there's also the good parts of it. And they're willing to pay. We're all willing to pay. We know there's winners and losers, and, in every game in life. And we're willing to pay, and we have a lot of choice there also. Some people always choose the easy path, try to stay on the safe side, and then other people will look at them and say, they're like plants, they don't really live, they just exist somehow, and they more look for challenges, look for difficulties, knowing that if they can surmount them, they'll grow and have a nice feeling about it. So there's a choice there, there's learning there, and there's you behind it, who essentially knows it's not happening, and that the suffering is not real. Sometimes people are angry with God, for putting us in such a mess, but God's here. He is also in the mess, he knows it's not really a mess. That's the difference.